Kaylee Meeson are the outside. Then we've got Kincaple, Lad O'Reilly between them. Jazzak the inside. Wider out then we've got Moonlight's Coburgers looking to clear a bit of traffic. La Rose Noir. The riders getting a bit anxious. Kaylee's coming out after it with O'Reilly. Wider out Moonlight's Coburger. Wise Lass getting up in behind them. He lets the brakes go. O'Reilly. O'Reilly's put a couple of lengths on them. Jazzak runs on with Moonlight's crisp and clear, but oh yeah, he's class all right. And O'Reilly wins the Telegraph. Second, I don't know, Classic Royal, Jazzak and crisp and clear. Back behind these runners then has been Moonlight's Matador.
Okay, and O'Reilly and obviously the natural link there. Courtsa was there when you first started, went through the sales. Your last year at Waikato Stud, he was among the foal crop. O'Reilly.
Yes, he was, yeah. And he, so the mare had been mated to Last Tycoon and arrived at Waikato in fall. And yeah, I remember a lot about him, actually. He, I sort of felt as a born foal, he was a medium-sized, strong colt, and I always wondered whether he'd get too heavy. And I remember always just working on his feet from day one, etc., etc., given the potential of his
sale price,
of his sale price, but as much as anything, just would he get too heavy, because there was a lot of Pompey Court in him, and but he retained his quality right through. But I do recall the Japanese were buying up horses at the time, the best of our horses, they'd come and have a look and just offer so much money. I remember there was money on the table for O'Reilly, and I remember when Gary and Mark came up, I said to Gary, I don't know about this lad, whether he'll get too big for us to go through to the yearling sales, or too big for you, should I say, and said, you could give those lads a call. And good on him, he stuck to his guns, and
there's a story behind him, obviously, so when he the scoping and everything else pre-sale.
He made his own fate, and
the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Hey, Waikato was a significant period in your life because you met your wife there. I think Robin was working there at the same time.
Yeah, it was, and it was. Look, just as you referred to earlier, it was almost mine. I felt, I lived there.
Lived and breathed it.
Absolutely, magnificent farm, great history, but you could see why, and see why. Great, really broodmare band, while other public companies at the time were involved in the horse game were falling off the shelf, and we were kicking big goals.
Rick Williams was involved?
Yeah, Rick got involved through Nick Cullum when he came on board, and still going strong.
Yeah, he still is. Hey, the Chittick family came in, and you saw obviously one, opportunity now for Gordon Cunningham to go to the next level.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, at the time, obviously, Mark was always going to come up and manage the farm. So it's pretty obvious I wasn't going to be there. But I took the place for Mark and Gary for 2.5 or 3 months in the transition phase, which I enjoy. And after the May sales that year, I was always going to do something for myself, and so.
You found the place out at Ohaupo?
Yeah, Ohaupo's a bit wet. That's why I always call it Hamilton. Yeah, or why I've always referred to it as
Hamilton. Okay, well, it's Hamilton. Let's say it's Hamilton. Yeah. David Gardner, is that right? Owned the property, developed it.
It had originally it was sold. Highview were going through some restructuring at the time, and they'd sold it. David had done a deal with them. He was involved in supermarkets and thought it'd be nice to buy this place, good investment. He didn't have anybody to. He wasn't going to farm it himself, so I went and had a look and worked out an arrangement with him.
And you and Robin stepped in?
Yeah, well, Robin and myself were seeing each other at that stage.
Yeah.
And we soon gathered a bit of momentum and
progressed even further.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you were living above the stables, weren't you? Wasn't the where you were living there above the stables?
I remember you had a look around one day.
That was way back. So, I mean, you started off right from scratch, didn't you?
Yeah, I brought 2 mares there with me. One of my own.
Yeah.
And 2 clients' mares. And
Was it your intention at that stage, obviously you're not standing, although you have done, we're going to talk about stud, was it your intention to have a stud farm or to do what you're doing now, which is preparation, yearling prep,
No,
etc.?
look, sure, there was never really any intention. Okay. You just...
Did whatever?
You just followed your... I've never really been a great planner as such. Mm-hmm. I've got to change that, but no, I just you followed your nose, I suppose, and you had to have horses on the place to pay the rent. And
so how did you get that group of people around you? So?
Simply backed myself, I suppose. I remember our first advert had the logo to it, which was quality of care from the beginning.
Yep.
And that's what we were about. That's what we've always been about.
And you did yearling preparations, weanling preparations.
Yeah, I remember.
Back
Look,
then?
I got really good support initially. I think I prepared 15 or yearlings the first year, at least the big barn, and they're back to Highview.
Yep.
Subcontracted that back to them.
Yeah.
Got 1,000 a week from Brent. That was a help with the rent.
Yeah.
And prepared the yearlings up in the broodmare band. Nelson Schick was one of the first there to send me a few horses, a few Strasbrooks, Pat Connellan himself.
Yeah. Another Irish boy.
They were surplus. I was only talking to him last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were surplus to their numbers, and had a bit of an arrangement there, and that was good. And we got a couple of stakes winners from that first crop. We sold the highest price Centro, horse called Centro View. He went on and became all right.
See, I just love the way you horse people never forget things. One horse, though, that you did sell only made $40,000, but again has had a significant. We talk about the Curraghmore influence. Was Fairview.
Yeah,
Fairway, should I say, not Fairview, Fairway.
That was interesting. I had a call one day from a horse breeder in Victoria by the name of Robert Sitkovic.
Oh, Robert Sitkovic, yeah. Never want to eat when he's eating pasta, because you usually wear it on your face, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And he asked me if I'd come and prepare or if I'd prepare 4 or 5 yearlings for the sales. Don't really know why he thought New Zealand would be a good place to sell them. But maybe he'd fallen out with the sales companies in Australia, or had disappointments. So he came over, or I went over and looked at his horses, and he'd 4 or 5 reasonable horses. But any horse in those days was all right, and they were premier horses, and included them in them was a Danzero, big leggy Danzero horse from a mare called our Caddy, who won the Benson and Hedges down there at Riccarton. Mm-hmm. It was her first fall. And I remember him well. He was very much on the leg. He was a black horse. Didn't move very well. He was quite gangly.
Right.
But structurally all right. And Harry Lawton bought him.
Okay. Went through the sales?
Went through the sales, yeah. Robert had an okay sale. Don't think he was too happy, but...
Well, it was hard to please, Robert. Yeah. I used to see him in the morning
we had a good sale. Yeah. I thought we did really well. You know... And but he had a good time at the end of it all.
He did. He always did. He always made sure he had a good time. Yeah. So anyway, Fairway came about, and he was outstanding, wasn't he?
Well, he was, and the interesting thing there was that Harry bought him to syndicate him, and he must have come across John Camilleri, who was involved in the chicken business with his family.
Right.
So, and John said he'd be interested in having a
share of those.
Well, him having a horse to race or whatever. So Harry met him and showed him 2 photographs of 2 horses. John knew nothing about pedigrees or anything in those days. One was a chestnut and one was a black horse.
He went with the good-looking black horse.
Yeah, and the cheaper one.
And the cheaper of the 2.
Yeah.
And this is a mare wearing the Australian Derby. How many Group 1s did he win?
He won 5, and they never missed a beat with him.
So he wasn't part... I mean, Harry sold him the horse, didn't actually syndicate. He wasn't part of the...
John took the lot and... raced him with his cousin John Cordina, who's also he's raced some really good horses from David Payne's stable.
Okay, well Nick Moratis came through the Harry Lawton system.
That's right.
It's incredible what Harry Lawton achieved with these syndicates. So, and such was the influence of that. I mean, John's remained and calls his property Fairway Thoroughbreds. And
that sort of transpired indirectly through my association with Curraghmore and etc. But it's quite uncanny how that's worked out.
Yeah. So I mean, $40,000. You've kept in touch with the bloke over the years, obviously.
Yeah, I always acknowledged him and whatnot. But yeah, it's sort of just... He eventually got into the breeding game, and he, I suppose, bit the bug as such, and has got a beautiful band of broodmares now based at Curraghmore.
We'll talk about it a little later, because you had a massive return for him coming up. You decided, obviously, with your connection with Joe Foley, hey, we could get involved in a stallion here. And you bought out a horse called Daggers Drawn. He was your first, wasn't he?
He was. I actually went down. I suppose the business structure and the demand of rent, etc., on the property and whatnot, told me I really needed a stallion. And I actually went down and had a bid on Kingdom Bay down at Sovereign Lodge. Yeah, because I thought I thought he could do a job. I didn't have to tell lies or...
Yeah, he's already established.
Established. Shouldn't say tell lies, but...
Yeah, no.
I could speak the truth, and, his stats spoke for himself, but he came up and went to Trelawney.
Yes, he
So
did.
I was underbidder on him, and I had no money, but I had a bid on him.
Yeah.
And so I suppose I was destined to get a horse then, and this horse, Daggers Drawn, was mentioned to me from home. I knew the form really well. I was able to buy half of him, so I didn't feel like I had to syndicate him.
Yep.
And I brought him out, and he was a great horse for us.
Great bread and butter horse. In fact, he was a bit better than that early on.
He was. Look, timing is everything in the whole game, and they took a little bit of time. They got a little bit of a tag as being wet trackers, but I don't actually think they truly were. That was all based on his second crop, which we had a great day at Ellerslie. A filly, If Looks Could Kill.
Which you bred yourself, you and Robin. Bred together.
We ended up... I knew I had to get mares for him, and we didn't have a whole lot of money to spend, but he worked with a lot of the mares we bought. We bred a number of stakes winners, including...
Are you into that Nixon crosses and stuff, the purple circles and the green squares that Russell Warwick's into?
Not really, but I know there's definitely a factor there, and I had an awful lot of luck with mares like If Looks Could Kill, his mother, we bought for $9,000. Dancing Daggers, who ran third in the Canterbury Guineas and won $1 million. We bought his mother for $1,700.
With a view to putting Daggers Drawn over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Boulevard of Dreams, we bought his mother for $1,400.
You don't spend a lot. That's the Irishman coming out. You have a Scottish ancestry there.
It was the fact that I had no money, and that's. But at least so they were good, and we reaped the benefit later on.
Hey, wasn't that a great day? If Looks Could Kill winning the Sires, because you talked about Boulevard of Dreams, both the same day.
Yeah, it was actually. It didn't even go to the races, to be honest. We were there feeding the horses, but
it was wet. Yeah, there it is. Here we are.
It was wet, yeah.
That's her with a baldy face.
Yeah, she was very white.
In the O'Sullivan colours, you was wet this day, and this is, as you say, this is the second crop, because Boulevard of Dreams came out of the first crop. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and she wasn't strong enough to go to a yearling sale, Boulevard of Dreams. We sold her for, actually offered her at the May sale for $5,000 and passed her in at $5,000. Jim Marks found her.
Right.
And Wayne Hillis came over and had a look on the farm, and he took her home, and she went on and did really well. That same day she won the Spring Championship Stakes, or should I say the Championship Stakes. So we had a Group 1 winner and a Group 2 winner that we bet ourselves on the same day.
Yeah, outstanding. And the phones were ringing, I mean...
well, it was at we got a book the following year, etc. But I think the most important factor for that was that it gave you confidence. Well, it was great because, and I remember Rob at the time, we were forever congratulating everybody else,
Yeah.
And it was great. It was overwhelming to get for
all
you.
Of a sudden, you're the back.
But more than anything, it gave you the confidence that you could actually breed and raise a good horse yourself with humble resources.
That's right. Without the big outlay.
That is the great thing about New Zealand.
Exactly. It's a great. It's a levelling playing field. I mean, everybody has an opportunity, whether you spend $50,000 or $500,000 or $5,000. In effect,
or nothing.
Or nothing. Yeah. Well, a few of us can do that. Very few. But anyway, it's the ongoing costs that kill most of us.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. in terms of stallions, daggers drawn, well, you thinking this must be easy. You went and got another one, City on a Hill?
No. I never thought it was easy.
Yeah.
Never thought it was easy, but I also knew that you had to back up.
Yep.
And I did. In hindsight, I could have syndicated the horse, but I didn't.
City on a Hill?
No, this was daggers drawn, yeah. And which worked to my benefit in the end because I was able to sell him without any complications for more than we paid for him.
Okay.
And he was past his use-by date for me at that point, in that I'd extended my client base and I couldn't keep going back to them year after year.
Yeah.
So we got City on a Hill the year the boys
Again with Joe Foley? Yeah.
No, I bought him myself, actually.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I bought him myself, so I was able to... and Joe wanted to buy into him, but I thought he'd be better off leasing him from me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was earning fees in Ireland back then as well, you see.
The Curraghmore background is coming through here.
No.
You've learned a lot.
No, the difference there is that I got the fees for a while, but they didn't.
Oh, okay.
There was still horses running around that I'd never heard of them others. Yeah.
Well, hey, look, we're all part of the same family.
Oh, I don't know about that, no.
But I mean, he didn't quite make it, did he? See on him.
No, he didn't. And again, timing was there. And there was, funny enough, there was a mare, Gary Carville gave me, a Success Express mare. Mm-hmm. And we had this foal, and I think he'd been given the mare as well, so it was another hand pass to me.
Yeah.
And she produced a foal that was sick, went over to the intensive care unit spent $3,000 or $4,000 getting it going. Came back, I sold it for $3,000 or $4,000 as a weanling. Bruce Hurd bought it, took it to the breeze up sale. He got $42,000 for it.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was great. And he was a big flag bearer for us in Hong Kong. He was a good horse. If he'd been in his first crop in the stables of
Things might have been
Matamata,
different. Yep.
But the downside of having two stallions is that you have to double your client base.
Yeah.
And that was a big challenge at the time.
So you put your hands up and said, no more stallions?
No, it wasn't so much that. It was that I wasn't going to back up and get a third one.
Okay.
And the boys were, with twins, Patrick and Liam, and how much more could you extend yourself, And I really didn't. I didn't enjoy the phone ringing at 8 o'clock at night talking about a mare who...
What discount can you give me?
Not so much. The discounts are all right. There's no problem there. It was more just talking.
Okay.
Some people are cut out for it. I wasn't.
Okay. Hey, listen, you're preparing for yearlings and things. You had your first $1 million yearling in 2004. I forgot about that. Offenbach. Well, you turned out to be a pretty good horse.
That's right. Well, at that stage, Curraghmore had taken over Arrowfield and were developing a broodmare brand of their own, breeding X number of horses to mares to Danehill, and they've always wanted to support New Zealand, so they were sending over one or two yearlings, and I was the obvious person where they should come to, know. So I'd go over and look at the horses every year, and there was this lad. He was a good-looking horse. And he was a three-quarter brother to Rock of Gibraltar at the time. Yeah. Well, he was a three-quarter brother in blood. Yeah. But he was a three-quarter brother.
He made the $1 million.
Made the $1 million, and look, he went on and became a good sound racehorse. Yeah. David Hayes didn't achieve an awful lot with him. He got hurt, but he went on and I think he won the Launceston Cup. He was sold the same year as Darcy Brahma. Mm-hmm. They were the $2 million yearlings. And so they both achieved, one more than the other, but...
Still achieved. That's the main thing.
Absolutely,
The performance of the horses off Curraghmore Stud will show as we watch the next segment continue to improve. This is Gordon Cunningham, and this is Off the Track. Back shortly.